the diet weight loss industry is $50 to $70 billion a year. It tells you that whatever solutions we have right now is not working. They're focused on short-term Band-Aids. You can drop your weight very quickly, and that's how they kind of market it, tie you in. And then you do drop the weight, so you're like, oh, it works. But what happens? The weight slowly creeps back.
Can toxins be the reason why people are not losing weight?
100%. I think it is the missing link that people are missing, and it's the reason why the diet weight loss industry is $50 to $70 billion a year. 50 to 70 billion with a B. It tells you that whatever solutions we have right now is not working. And so very much like the conventional medical model, which a lot of people say, keep you sick, keep you going back, keep you making them money, it's very much the same for weight loss industry, right? They're focused on short-term Band-Aids. You can drop your weight very quickly, and that's how they kind of market it, tie you in, get you in, and then you do drop the weight, so you're like, oh, it works. But what happens? The weight slowly creeps back after a few months, right? So then you need another diet, you need another protocol, and that's how they keep making money. So that's why I'm so grateful we're having this conversation today, because there's so many factors outside of calories in, calories out, that if we are not identifying, addressing, we're not serving our clients and our patients.
So powerful, because I've never heard anyone compare the weight loss industry to the medical model, the pharmaceutical industry. But if you think about it, it's so true. I've had over the years people go, I've did this diet, I read this book, I went on this program, my trainers got me on this one, and they lose weight, and inevitably they always gain the weight back.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me, because it's like we take the medicine, the medication, we feel better, and then we have a side effect down the road,
Exactly.
or it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And it's funny, a business doesn't want to lose its money and its customers, so it's going to continue just bringing it back in with short-term solutions.
Exactly.
So then naturally the question would be, first of all, how are we exposed to these toxins that are keeping our weight on? And how is that even happening in our body? What's happening?
Yeah. Sadly, we have over 85,000 chemicals registered for use with the EPA. So these chemicals are all around us. And it's overwhelming when you think about it. But a few thousand of these are actually high frequency chemicals, meaning we're exposed to it every single day. So it's in our air, in our water, in our food, in our personal care products. And it's really difficult to avoid now at this point. But we still can take steps to reduce our exposure. So that's what's important. And going back to the point about the fact that it's not just calories in, calories out, you'll find this study really interesting, because this is what first got me into, wow, it's not just about calories. So there was a study published in 2016, and they took the data from NHANES, so that's the National Health and Examination Nutrition Survey. They monitor the health and nutrition of Americans. They looked at 36,000 Americans. And when you adjust for calories and exercise output, people in 2006 were 2.3 BMI points higher than in 1988. Wow. So even when you adjust for the amount of calories in and the amount of exercise output, people were still heavier in 2006 compared to 1988. And this is not just for humans, it's for animals too. So they looked at 20,000 animals, both wild and domesticated, and animals were high at BMI too. So there is definitely something in our environment, and people are not talking about it. In fact, I actually posted about this, and I quoted an article from the NIH, and a group of doctors on Instagram clubbed together and called me misinformation, asked their followers to report me to Instagram to have the post taken down, even though I sourced
the study.
the study. So I think this reflects just how little conventionally trained doctors know about this topic, and I don't blame them. We didn't learn about this at medical school, and that's why we're here today.
Let me talk to you about something I use every single day, and it's athletic greens. Now, I started because I want a little bit more energy, more focus, but now it's been utilized every single day as part of my daily routine that I'm putting into every single smoothie bowl that I make, every smoothie that I make. And it's a helpful supplement to get me all of the things that I need when I'm on the go. So athletic greens, it doesn't taste like those super healthy green powders that you've tasted in the past. They got that earthy, grassy taste. This one actually has a mild tropical taste that I actually look forward to every single morning. But what is it? Well, with 1 scoop of athletic greens, you're gonna get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens, all the good stuff. And it contains less than a gram of sugar, no GMOs, none of them nasty chemicals or artificial anything. And it still tastes good. And it supports better sleep quality and recovery and your overall mental health, clarity, focus, and alertness. Aging is a small micro habit with big benefit. It's the one thing you can do every day to take great care of yourself. Now, I only partner with brands I truly believe in. And Athletic Greens is one of those partners. They're great and they're company focused on sustainability. Now, for one, they're climate neutral certified company. In 2020, they purchased carbon credits that support projects protecting old growth rainforests. And additionally, for every purchase, they donated to organizations helping get nutritious foods to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry right here in the United States. And in 2020, they donated over 1.2 million meals to children. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is visit athleticgreens.com/heal-thyself. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/heal-thyself to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Now, I'm not a fan of my house smelling like strong chemicals when I'm cleaning. And I prefer human-safe, non-toxic, sustainable, and clean ingredients when cleaning the surfaces in my home. And this is Branch Basics. They're the best of the best. I've been talking about them for many years now, and now they're a brand partner at Heal Thyself. They're cost-effective, and they're high-quality cleaning products for your home. Branch Basics offers non-toxic, hypoallergenic, fragrance-free, none of those hormone disruptors, none of those harmful preservatives that so many of these cleaning chemicals have. Now, their products are perfect for babies or if you have pets in the home. And they use one concentrate for everything. Super efficient. And you can use it for counters, floors, laundry, bathroom, dishes, hand soap, and even washing your produce. Now, the Oxygen Boost, which is the one right here in my hand, it can be used for laundry, stain remover, cleaning up pots, pans, and all that nasty tile grout that you got in your bathroom or in your kitchen. So they're a sustainable brand because you only need to purchase the bottles once. You can choose between the aesthetic glass or the plastic bottles that look much nicer than your ordinary cleaning supplies. Now, once you run out, all you need to do is repurchase the concentrate and Oxygen Boost to refill the bottles. So if you don't know where to start, Branch Basics offers a premium starter kit that includes a cleaning essentials kit, laundry kit, and classroom kit. So you right now, the Heal Thyself listeners, can get 15% off of any starter kit with the code DRG. Go to links.branchbasics.com/DRG, and now's the time to start cleaning your space effectively and efficiently. Yeah, absolutely. And you hear that so much, calories in and calories out. And hearing this study, right? So it's adjusting for, you're saying, food and caloric expenditure, right? So this is how we're burning and what we're putting in, putting in. If it was calories in, calories out, then there'd be no difference from the 80s and 2006.
Exactly.
Correct?
Exactly.
But things changed since 2006,
yes.
right? And a lot of people, my first thing before you said that would be like, oh, we're just moving less because we're on our phones. But then you talked about how we're moving the same.
Yeah.
So the factor that we're not talking about is our exposures, especially when it comes to animals.
Yes.
Right?
The environment.
The environment. Okay, so you talked about some of these high-frequency chemicals. What are some high-frequency chemicals so people are aware of them, and then where are they found?
Yes. So BPA, you talk about this a lot, right? Plastics. Yeah. BPA is found in plastic, it's found in thermal paper receipt, the lining of cans, and there's so many studies now connecting BPA with obesity, not only in adults, but in childhood as well. it's been shown to affect our gut microbiome. It has been linked with insulin resistance, so many different endocrine conditions. So that's one. And then there's phthalates, another one of your favorites that we all often talk about. And phthalates are found again in plastic, but it's added to plasticize plastic, so make plastic more flexible and pliable. So it's in the softer, food packaging, for example, your shower curtains. But also it's used to fix scent to your personal care products or household products. So any fragranced scented products most likely has phthalates if you can still smell it after a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So those are, I would say, are the big ones. But then there's also pesticides, PFAS. There's probably about, at this point, 20 to 30 different chemicals that have been identified to be linked to weight gain.
Okay, so we're exposed to them. They're going to be here all the time. I remember the BPA study, I think the CDC did it, and it was 2,500 people, and 93% had BPA in their urine. And that's got a short half-life, so people are being exposed to it all the time. And I was like, holy moly, this is wild. And I remember I was like, okay, I'm moving away from all of these plastics. I know I do. I don't even take in plastic. I took the urine test and I had BPA in my body. And lo and behold, it was because I completely forgot the cans of soda are lined with plastic usually for almost every single one. So like, even though I was drinking like these healthy drinks, they were lined in plastic. I was like, oh, shoot.
I know, and believe it or not, air is actually an invisible source of these toxins that we don't think about. We can't detect that we're breathing in BPA and phthalates, but it's in the air. It's riding on dust particles in our house. So when they did a study on dust particles, they found that BPA, phthalates, PFAS, they're all riding on these dust particles. And when you're walking, you're kind of kicking up these dust and breathing it in. And that's another source of exposure. And there was a study that linked air pollution, exposure to air pollutants in childhood with obesity.
Wow. Already, early on. Always is what I always say.
And even as early as prenatally. So women who are exposed to air pollution had an increased chance of their, babies having higher weight later on.
So we're going to go all into solutions in a little bit, but I really want to know. So now I get these toxins in my respiratory system. I get them through my mouth, maybe even through the skin, and they're in my body. They're in my blood. How am I gaining weight from these chemicals? What the heck is happening in my body?
Yeah, that's a great
for
question.
Me to gain weight?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it works at so many different levels, right? And as you know, health is not just one thing. It's so many things involved. But firstly, it can affect our metabolism. So many of these, so we mentioned BPA, phthalates, they can actually cause and effect hasn't been shown yet, but being linked with insulin resistance. And if you have insulin resistance, it means that you have a running baseline higher level of insulin, which is a fat storage hormone. So if you have a high level of insulin in your blood all the time, which is something I see in my clients and patients a lot now, you actually can't. It's very hard for you to lose weight. Your physiology is against you to lose weight because your body's telling you got to put on weight, you got to gain fat. So that's one mechanism. It's actually affecting our hormones. So, you mentioned a lot endocrine disruptors. So a lot of these chemicals are endocrine disruptors. They're affecting our hormones, and our hormones are in turn affecting our metabolism and then our weight. But there's also studies that have shown that these chemicals, when you kind of expose them at specific windows of development. So during, embryogenesis, during childhood, there are these windows where exposure can turn on and off genes. So BPA and another chemical called tributyltin, which is something that people paint the outside of ship with and used in PVC manufacturing, they can activate PPAR gamma, which is kind of the master regulator of fat cells. So you can get an increase in number of fat cells, so you store more fat on your body, and also the fat cells get bigger. And once these genes are switched on, they carry on through the generation. So what they found was that if you expose a pregnant mice to these chemicals, not only does the first generation have an increased propensity for weight gain, that generation's offspring also sees that weight gain.
That's mind-blowing to hear, because then I'm thinking how much the environment has to do with not only your predisposition towards holding fat cells, growing fat cells, but also it could be generational, which is wild to even hear, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I can go back to the inner city, right? Like go back to Queens, New York City. I know people, even in my family, who are trying to eat healthier and can't lose weight, even eating healthier. How much crap they're exposed to in their apartment buildings, how much crap they're exposed to in the streets, in the city air, over and over every single day. These are the high frequency chemicals.
Yes.
And likely that predisposition was early on, the exposure.
Yeah, that's why work on pregnant women is so critical.
So let's talk on that. So we got a mom pregnant, she's a few months pregnant. What are the things we need to do, as young parents right now, to make sure that we not only are having a non-toxic lifestyle, but making sure that we're not passing or turning on that obesity gene early on? Yeah,
and this is, I think, a very overwhelming area for a lot of people. When they first learn about this, firstly, they're shocked, and then they're like, where do I even start, right? So what I always say is look at where your exposures are most frequent. So what are you ingesting most of? Air, water, right, hopefully, and then it's food. So those are the three areas I would look at first. And it really depends on where you live as well. So if you live in the city, I would probably prioritize air more because there's probably more pollutants in the air. Although indoor air is an issue as well because of the off-gassing from our furniture and also your whole household cleaning products, right? So I always say, don't let go of that which is outside of your control. So our outdoor air is not within our control. So focus on what's within your control. So you can invest in an air filter, for example. Or, the first thing to do would just to ditch all fragrance products from your house, right? Because that can just significantly reduce the amount of phthalates that's floating around in the air in your own home. So yeah, those are the three big areas.
And that's easy, right? Because we can really save, invest, get a really good air filter, and it's going to make a big difference in our home. You're saying?
Yes, it's a long-term investment, right? But if you are not there financially yet, stop using candles, stop spraying Febreze everywhere in your home.
Doing those plug-ins everywhere.
Right, exactly.
Cologne, perfume, things that we're always being exposed to.
Yeah.
Not knowing that even before we have children, it's affecting our hormones, it's affecting our metabolism.
Exactly.
It's affecting our organs, and then we're trying to get pregnant. This is why I always tell people. We had one of my close friends on here, Dr. Catherine Zagone, and she was talking about how even the chemicals in Febreze, we don't even think about, right? Because it has a sweet scent, but a lot of the same chemicals in cigarettes are in Febreze. And this is something we spray to, we put it on our child's room, we put it on our child's clothes, not knowing. And for me, it's criminal that it's even out there without the informed consent. And I know you feel the same way about this stuff. Okay, so we start with the air in our home, taking away the candles, taking away the plug-ins, all the artificial scents. Okay, so then people are going to be like, well, how does my house smell clean? What do I do then?
Well, here's the thing, right? We've been marketed to believe that we need to smell this way. Like, why does our house, I don't get it. Like, why does our house have to smell like apples or cinnamon, right? Like, if you do want it to smell like apples, put some apples and cinnamon in a pan on the stove with some water and let that natural aroma come out. Yeah. It's marketing, again, to make more money from us, to say you need to smell this way and your laundry also has to smell this way. Why? Like, our laundry just doesn't need to stink and be offensive to other people, right? That's it. So yeah, I think it's a mindset shift because I work with a lot of clients who are just so used to having the fragrance that I have to find fragrance better products for them to kind of transition down to, and then eventually
moving from that.
Yeah, and actually what they find is that once they switch out of those super toxic products, when they go back to it, they get headaches. They start, having runny nose, runny eyes, and they're like, how did I use these things for so long and I didn't know?
Yeah.
It's because the body now is like, wow, breath of fresh air, I can now express myself. And then when you expose, then you start getting those symptoms again.
You should see me at a conventional Airbnb. I'm laying down in the laundry detergent Tide that they use on the blankets and the linens, and I try to tell them don't use any bleach or anything. Sometimes I walk in, it smells like bleach. It's bad. And the first thing for me is asthma-like symptoms.
Right.
So my whole body just contracts. It's funny, the respiratory system goes, I ain't trying to breathe in this air, and it contracts as much as possible.
Yes.
So I'm like, wow, it's hard for me to breathe here. I'm opening the windows. And sometimes my skin is going to react really fast, like to the towels and to the blankets. So
wow.
I can attest to that. And a lot of people can. They go, hey, is this real, Dr. G? Like, my coworker, now I can't stand her perfume. And that's why, right? Your body's become so hypersensitive. It's like, please, no more of this. I ain't going back there.
Right. Listen to your body.
Listen to your body. Okay, so we have the air. We got a good idea about the air. People always wondering, right? And I just did a little show on Brita water filters. But people wondering, what are the standards? What should we go by when we get a water filter? What are the 2-3 things that we go, okay, I don't have the money for this one, but this is something that I need to look for right now?
Right. I think the first place to start is to look at your water report, right? So for those of us living in the US, we can pull this up. There's a database. You can enter your zip code. EW has a tap water database. You can also get it from your municipal water supplier. They are federally required to give you that report. So you can actually see what's in your water and then find a water filter that can filter those things out. And it may not be very much, right? In which case, maybe a pitcher will do for you. It's very unlikely given the state of our contaminated waterways. But, I think that what filter you pick really depends on what you're trying to filter out. But I always try to look for filters that are certified to NSF standards, because the way the water's tested, companies can actually manipulate the report, right? So they can just get off the first sample from the filter. Oh, wow, it looks so great. Filters everything out, 99% remove everything. But it's not really, you got to test it, at 50 gallons, 100 gallons, what's the lifetime of that filter? You got to test it right until the end to make sure that it's still filtering that well all the way through. Mm-hmm. And that's not being done by a lot of these companies. So I think that's really important.
All right, I want to talk about MitoPure, but let's talk about mitophagy first. This is the cleansing process of your mitochondria, which is so essential to cellular health. This is why we age. When our mitochondria starts going downhill, when our telomeres and our DNA starts breaking down, this is part of the aging process. So to keep our body, our cells healthy, you need healthy mitochondria. There's no doubt about it. There's not many, if any, supplements out there that are supporting directly your mitochondria like MitoPure is. What they utilize is this new compound called urolithin A. And I've always been super intrigued about this when I read about it years ago. And it's derived from pomegranate. It's very hard and nearly impossible to drink enough pomegranate or eat enough pomegranate to get the scientifically proven therapeutic dose. Now, this is where the MitoPure comes in by Timeline Nutrition. They've created 3 easy and delicious ways to get your daily dose of 500 milligrams of urolithin A in your diet. The number one way that I ingest urolithin A is these soft gels. I love these soft gels. They're awesome for travel. They come in this frosted case, nice and protected. But what I immediately noticed is when I take in MitoPure, it's a different form of energy that I feel in my body versus drinking a cup of coffee or a cup of matcha. It's a really consistent, sustained level of energy from when I take it all the way till I start getting tired during the day. And you notice the difference. It's pretty fast. I love it. So MitoPure is the first product to offer a precise dose of urolithin A to upgrade your mitochondrial function. And there was a study on urolithin A on muscle strength and endurance in the older population. And what was found is urolithin A is super powerful for increasing cellular energy and thus improving muscle strength and endurance. Timeline is offering 10% off of your first order of MitoPure, my favorite supplement for energy support, period. Go to timelinenutrition.com/DRG. Use the code DRG at the end to get 10% off of your first order. Again, that's TIMELINENUTRITION.com/DRG. And I recommend trying their starter pack to try all 3 of their formats. You're gonna love it. It's funny that you say that. I spoke to an expert on water maybe 2 years ago, and I was asking him about, there's a lot of controversy behind the Berkey, because we talk about it. So the one thing that he said to me, and we were looking at the report together, he goes, look how little the amount of testing they've done as far as the lifetime of it. You have to go 50, 100,000 gallons over and over to test the water.
Yep.
Even, I think he gave me a number like blank percent higher, but what I heard was a lot higher than even the life of it.
Oh, yeah.
To test it and to have a real good reading. So it's funny that you're talking about the manipulation, because that's what companies are doing.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then if you are certified to NSF standards, you have to test it to that standard. And it has to go through the lifetime of the filter as a minimum. And so that is a reliable standard you can go by. I just don't even look at a lot of these reports from filter companies now.
Right. Okay. So what type of water filter? We talk about pitcher. There's the reverse osmosis one.
Yep.
There's the over-the-counter, under-the-counter. For people who go, okay, I want to get a good filter, and this is my budget. Aside from NSF, is there anything else we should look for?
Well, yeah, again, it depends on what you're trying to filter out, right? If you're trying to filter out PFAS, for example, the group of chemicals that are found in Teflon, the most robust way is reverse osmosis. So if you do have PFAS in your water, that's probably what you want to look for. But it's not affecting all of our water, so you may not need it. And the reason why I don't say everybody go out and get reverse osmosis is because it wastes a lot of water. Yeah. So for every 1 ounce of water, you're wasting 4 or 5 ounces. And water is a limited resource, clean water is. So unless you need to go to that level, I think there may be other better filters that can do the job for you.
And we can, again, look at that. You said EWG. I think it's .org/tap water.
If you just Google EWG tap water database, it will pop up. Yeah. And then there's the service that we both use and like, TapScore.
Yeah, great one.
They will test your water and suggest the filter that suits the contaminant. So that kind of takes the worry out of it for you.
Yeah, and then you really only do it once if you're in the same place. It's funny you talked about PFAS, and I looked in the ZIP EWG database for Santa Monica.
Oh, yeah?
And one of the PFAS is in the water here.
Oh, goodness.
And I was like, wow. And, you would think we were so health conscious here. We really demand the best water.
Yeah.
And still, there was more than a few. I think it was 4 or 5 that were higher, much higher than the standards that are deemed safe. So.
And by the way, PFAS is one of those that have been shown in a study. There was a study, I think, from 2018 that showed that women who lost weight but had the highest level of PFAS regained the most weight. And they had a lower metabolic rate, which means, again, the physiology is working against them, right? If you have a lower metabolic rate, it's harder to lose weight.
Yeah.
And it's the PFAS that's being released from the fat storage messing with the metabolism, slowing it down and making it harder for you to lose weight and making you regain weight much faster.
Unbelievable. Because these are chemicals that stay in our body 8, 9, 10, 20 years.
Yes.
I did the yoga pants show, just talking about yoga pants and how a lot of these synthetic spandex chemicals, using spandex materials are using chemicals. It's wild to me that because a lot of these athletic or athleisure or outdoor hiking raincoats, crazy amount of PFAS. It's the same stuff that's on the Teflon pans.
Yep.
And the movie Dark Waters. Have you seen this movie?
Oh, yes.
Fantastic movie.
I love that movie.
It's one of my favorites.
Everybody needs to watch that movie.
It's Dark Waters, not Dark Water. Water is the horror movie. Waters is the one with Mark Ruffalo. Watch that one. It's a fantastic movie.
You know what? I took my husband to see that movie, and he completely switched his mindset at that movie.
Did you go to the theater?
Yes.
I remember you talking about that movie when you went to the theater years ago.
Yes. So he was always like, what's she talking about? I'm not going to die from this stuff. He watched a movie and he was like, oh my goodness, okay, I'm on board.
He needs to, we need to have an affiliate for Dark Waters because we got so many people still watching it every time we talk about it. So so we think about these PFAS chemicals that are stuck in our body. What I think about is just the language of the body. What is the body trying to tell us? And when I think about chemicals, right, that are stored in the fat cells that are being held, and we're trying to burn them off, the body's like saying, no, you are super toxic. There's a lot of chemicals in your fat cells. We're going to take it easy. You're going to lose weight a lot slower than the average person who's less toxic. Is this a crazy thought in my head?
I actually believe that. I mean, there is no scientific study to prove this, but I believe that the fat cell is serving a purpose, right? It's storing the toxins away from our major organs and hiding it so the toxins can't harm our heart, our brain. But it is there, it's there. So there's another study that showed that people who lose weight rapidly, who don't support their detox organs, the level of toxins go up during weight loss. So again, that slows down the metabolism, right? So fat cells are not just, they're not inert, they're storing something. And, when you rapidly lose weight, and you're not supporting your detox pathways, these toxins can't exit the body. And so they go back. The body's like, I gotta hide them. So it starts creating more fat storage to put them back in. Yeah. And that's why you're going round in circles.
Yeah, this is what something I always thought about is what is the body saying in these issues.
Yes.
So really it's like, okay, moving the toxins from the sources that you talked about, we talked about 2 to 3. And then working with your body as you maybe even doing a sauna or something, sweating, supporting, taking whatever internally that you need to, maybe binding some stuff.
Yep.
That's a really important way to go if you feel, and most of us are there, living in this world, right?
Yeah, I think it's really important if you are planning to do like one of those, drop your weight in 2 weeks, make sure you support your detox organs first if you want semi-lasting results. Right. And most people are walking around with blocked detox organs, as you know, because of poor nutrition, stress, lack of sleep. And so really work on that before you even think about weight loss.
100%. Now the third and final one that you said we're most exposed to, well, the two, the air and the water most, but what about the food now? Now the food, I know you're so passionate about the food. You make the most beautiful recipes. You wrote some recipes for me once before, and I'm still eating some of them on there because it's fantastic. What are just simple rules of thumb for people who go, okay, I can't switch my whole refrigerator to organic, my whole pantry to organic. This is crazy. 1, I'm on a budget. 2, I don't believe in half of it. What are just some things we really need to look for as consumers of food in this world?
Yeah, so I would say when you go into a grocery store, shop the perimetry, right? So try to look for food that still looks like what it looks like when it came out of the ground, first of all. So 70% of the American diet is ultra-processed food. Those are nutritionally deplete, they don't have any fiber. And why is that important? Because nutrients and fiber help us detoxify, right? So we said we can't avoid exposure to toxins 100% now. So what do? We have to support our body to eliminate these toxins. Right. And one of the ways is to eat lots of fiber, because fiber can actually bind onto these toxins and help the toxins leave our body in the form of poop. Nutrients are very needed by our liver to do liver detoxification. And so, when we're nutritionally deficient on an standard American diet, it's very difficult to detox from our everyday exposures.
And we are, and most of us are eating that way. And the irony is that even the food in these, the chemicals, the ingredients in these processed foods are nutrient depleters. So whatever nutrients we have, we're utilizing all of them just to break it down and protect our body. It's great.
And if you look at most diet shakes, they are ultra-processed foods. Yeah. They're shakes, and a lot of them contain inflammatory oil. So yes, you can temporarily drop your weight. It's going to come back. If you don't lower that inflammation, if you don't support your detox organs, it's going to come back.
Oh, wow. And it's just for us to think about, it's changing the perspective. We go to the supermarket, immediately go to the right side, go to the back, go to the left side, go home. Maybe pick up a few things on the aisle, maybe whatever.
I eat pasta. Like you don't have to be perfect, but try to reduce ultra processed foods.
Okay, very powerful, very powerful. That's something that we could stick on. Now, I want to talk about this label, the non-GMO and USDA organic. A lot of people say, I went in the aisle and I got this, and look, it says non-GMO. It has the label. I think I heard it somewhere on TikTok. Now I feel happy. I feel good and it's healthy. What's the difference between the label and which one should we look out for? And is even USDA organic, is it legit? Is it good?
Yeah, I think it's the best that we have right now. So I personally do look for it. So the difference is that non-GMO, they can still use pesticides, right? It's just not genetically modified. And it's almost, I don't know what the right word is, dishonest to put that label on a crop that's not normally GMO, right? It's almost like trying to trick the consumer into thinking it's organic in a way. I know my husband definitely gets tricked quite a lot. So he's like, oh, look, it's got a non-GMO label. But I'm like, hey, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have pesticides. It's just, and plus it's, tomatoes are not generally GMO crop, right? So I think the non-GMO label only means something if it's a traditionally GMO crop like soy, canola, beets. But otherwise, look for the organic label if you can, because that tells you it doesn't have artificial color, like the preservatives are regulated, and pesticides.
No sewer sludge, no antibiotics, none of that nasty stuff.
Yeah.
And I always say, look, it's not a perfect label. Right? It's not, but there's a lot of people who argue, did you know that they use natural pesticides and that'll make you sick too? I'm like, okay, well, let's look at the totality of what's being used synthetically.
Exactly.
Right? We're talking,
Exactly.
and this is the one thing that drives me the most crazy out of everything. The most crazy. When I go on Instagram and I hear food science blah, blah, blahs and TikTok blah, blah, blahs and this sort of food scientist, they go like this. Or even a doctor who's not even trained in nutrition, they go, it doesn't matter about it because the dose makes the poison. The dose makes the poison, and therefore you are fine. Let me tell you something. If my phone was a piece of paper, I'd swish it in half and throw it in the garbage.
I know,
it's
same.
crazy. Can we clarify about this dose makes the poison myth?
Yes. Yeah. All right, so here's the thing, right? These maybe toxicologists or scientists, they're in a lab, they're looking at dose plus, the exposure plus effects. They're trying to observe an effect over a limited period of time, usually very short. With everyday exposures, that's not the model we're looking at, right? We're looking at very low dose exposures where your body can't eliminate all the exposure, so it's building up inside of us. And over time, we're seeing an accumulation of these chemicals in our bodies, in the tissues, and that's exerting the effect. So first of all, that the acute model of looking at it short term just doesn't apply when we're talking about chronic toxin exposure. And secondly, what's been shown in a lot of research, and there's a researcher called Frederick von Salm, I think you probably heard of him. He's the world's expert on BPA. And what he showed is that at levels I think he said something like 1,000th of the EPA allowed level, BPA is exerting estrogenic effects in our body. And a lot of these toxins have what's known as the U-shaped curve. So at the very small doses, you see an effect. And then the effect changes as the concentration goes up, and then you get an increase in effect again when you increase concentration. So it's not a monotonic, linear relationship. It goes up and down, and it depends on our physiology, our diet, stress, all of that too. So, that's why I think a lot of the data is observational, because that's the only way we can get that timeline into the equation, right? Yeah. We can't possibly be doing randomized control trial for 20 years. Nobody has money for that. But and so that's why we do have to take the research with a grain of salt. But when we have one study after another, it's all showing the same link and association, we really need to pay attention to that.
It's time to start listening. And that's I've spoke about that non-monotonic dose response, because that's the point that people in toxicology or food science, they go, no, look, low doses, it's fine. High doses, it's bad. oh, wait a minute, there's another blip in the, not even a blip, there's another curve that goes up. And we go, holy moly, okay, whoa, I didn't even know about this. And then if the dose doesn't make the poison, how do you explain mercury poisoning? Right? They go, oh, it's a low amount of mercury, so you can eat tuna, right? Just don't eat it too much. But what about bioaccumulation in the body over time?
We know that. We know that, right? And, cadaver studies on people who had accidents shows that the number of amalgams in your mouth correlate with the amount of mercury in your brain. So it definitely accumulates in our tissue. We're just not dissecting people every day to measure this tissue concentration. And I think that's the important thing they're missing.
Right. So big time. So listen, take home, everybody, viewers and listeners, very confidently, we say right here as two experts, the dose makes the poison is a myth. Pay close attention to what you're consuming, even at low doses, right? Especially the fat-soluble stuff, the thing that is attaching to your organs, that attaching to your bone, your brain, your thyroid, because this happens.
I'll tell you what's at low concentration that affects women's physiology. The birth control. The estrogen is low dose, but it's inhibiting ovulation.
Right.
And I'm not saying we're getting birth control doses in everyday exposures, but it's a small dose.
It's a small dose.
And so, the dose is, the response is not predictable, is what I would say.
Right. So very important. We needed to really brush that out as two people who really are passionate about that. Listen, we're nearing the end. I know you're a busy woman, and we got you here for just a little bit, and I feel so blessed. Why don't you tell us, you got a few things up your sleeve that you're doing and a few things that are out. Let's tell the audience, the listeners, one, how do we find you? What are you doing? How do we connect to you? How do we get your ebook? How do we get your course? Tell us everything.
Thank you so much. So my Instagram handle is @plateful.health. So PLATEFUL.HEALTH. I share a lot of information about non-toxic living there, nutrition, some recipes. And my website also has a lot of resources. But for this talk, I do have a resource I feel might be really helpful. So it's a quiz that you can take to see if your detox organs or detox pathways may be blocked. So if you're thinking about a weight loss program, do that quiz first. So the URL for that is www.joindetoxright.com/quiz. And I can send you that link as well.
Okay.
So those are my main resources. I do have a course. It's called Detox Right. So it's a course aimed to help you support your detox organs on a daily basis rather than having to rely on once a year or twice a year detox protocol. So it's very similar to, where weight loss industry wants quick fixes. Detox industry, same. They want to sell you shakes and pills, right? And it doesn't have lasting effect. Whereas we should be supporting our detox organs every day through everyday food and lifestyle. So that's what my course teaches. And the URL for that is joindetoxright.com.
Awesome. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this box that you have, this little white box. Now you're doing the red light therapy, but you got one of the strongest, if not the strongest, handheld out there. Is this true?
Yes. So I saw with my own eyes how red light therapy helped my dad. But when I researched, there is no portable. So that means, a machine that doesn't need to be plugged into the wall. That's powerful enough, that had a higher irradiance that you need for therapeutic effects. So I went about and created my own. So I put in a really good premium battery that can support that output. And lab tested it for EMF, for irradiance, for safety, so that I'm happy to use it on my own family. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'm such a big fan of red light therapy. There's good data on that for all the organs, for everything from cuts to headaches, to belly aches, to psoriasis, to eczema, to everything.
I know, it sounds like snake oil.
It does.
But it's not, because it's tackling a fundamental thing that's going wrong in a lot of people, and that's mitochondrial function.
Right.
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 So when you fix the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse to generate more energy for the cell, you get better healing, you get better skin, you get,
everything. It's pretty fundamental, but it's still crazy.
It's what we like. It's the root cause.
Please, root cause stuff. So thank you for coming on the show. Don't wait another 2 years to come back here, 2.5 years. And for everyone who loved Dr. Vivian, go back to episode, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You were one of the first 5 ones.
Yes.
And we talked about some really fantastic stuff too, more food-based stuff. But you're here, you're doing wonderful, and I'm so happy to see a friend just grow and just do everything
I'm
you're
so
doing.
happy for you too. It's been incredible to connect with you. We both sing from the same hymn sheet, which I appreciate so much. So
Yeah, exactly.
thank you.
I love it. All right, thank you, Doc. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Man, lip fillers are a giant fad right now. You, someone you love, maybe a celeb, you've seen with lip fillers, right? And it is the fastest growing sector for cosmetic injectables. And it's nothing new. Years ago, the FDA legalized, back in '81, the first injectable filler. And it was actually collagen coming from cows. And then over the years, you had to take an allergy test before you took it in, and we were using it, but less cosmetically to the point that it is now. And then around 2002, I remember coming out of high school and starting to hear about these injectables that people were using for wrinkles. And then it moved from bovine collagen to human collagen. And then over time, it switched into what we're using today, which is synthetic hyaluronic acid. This is the gel implant that we so dearly know. But the US, like I said with Botox, loves injecting their face. According to the International Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgery, the US was ranked #1 in the world in terms of non-surgical products performed at a global level. According to the Grand View Research Market Analysis, the global injectables market size was valued at $16.1 billion in 2021 and is expected to expand at a compounded annual growth rate of 9.1% from 2022 to 2030. Now, there's all different types of injectables. I just talked about Botox. Botox has the largest revenue share. It's the OG, right? It's got about a little more than half of the revenue share on injectables. But hyaluronic acid is the fastest growing one. This is the young rookie, the hot gun out there that is just like rising to the top, because so many people are finding this a really easy alternative to not getting surgical, something more permanent procedure. So why are we doing this? Well, one, the collective consciousness has shifted. It's always been aesthetically anchored, right? Looking at the material, and that's fine, especially in United States culture, but it's been more apparent over the past 10 years. So when you look online, it's very easy to turn on Instagram or TikTok and for me to see at some point a young lady, a woman having lip fillers or Botox or a super synthetic look, right? And you can relate to that. I'm sure you've seen it too. I'm sure if you have kids, your kids have seen it too at this point. It is accepted at this point in the world that this is a standard of beauty for many people. According to the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, more than 27,000 lip procedures took place in the United States last year, with a lip procedure being performed every 20 minutes. That's a new record. Lip augmentations are also up 43% in women since 2000, with the average cost of lip injections being about $500 to $2,000. And you're coming back every 6 to 9 months, these docs and med spas, they're cashing out. So who shouldn't get lip fillers at all? It's contraindicated for patients with severe allergies, any history of anaphylaxis or history of presence of multiple severe allergies that you may have, and because it contains trace amounts of gram-positive bacterial proteins. It's contraindicated for anyone with a history of allergies to gram-positive bacterial proteins. And if you're immunocompromised or you're on immunosuppressive medications, I don't think you should be getting these. Because it contains lidocaine, it's also contraindicated for anyone with a history against lidocaine. So if you're gonna get lip fillers, you need to listen to this. You have to make sure that if you choose to do this, you're doing it with a professional who's done this procedure hundreds, if not thousands of times. Why? Improper application of this material can cause some real issues. Any injections into vasculature may lead to embolization, that's a lodging or block in the bloodstreams, and occlusion of the blood vessels, which can lead to ischemia of the blood vessels and infarction of the distant organ or tissue there. So if you ever have filler, you may have disproportionate pain around the site. Very important, if you have any pain that's disproportionate or around the body, that's an emergent situation because you may be having a vascular embolization. Keep an eye if there's any skin color changes also. And there's been instances where people get lip fillers in the nose improperly injected, and there's an embolism in the blood vessels of the eye causing blindness to the eye. We also don't know the safety during pregnancy and breastfeeding females, or anyone who has very thin skin in the mid-face region. Also, anyone under 35 years old or over 65 years old, we don't know the safety or efficacy of fillers. So again, it's super important to know this. What are some of the side effects that we see with fillers? For tenderness and swelling, you'd expect 92% of people who get lip fillers or fillers have tenderness, 85% have swelling. So lumps and bumps, the nodules, are much more common than you may think. Now, when you get fillers, it's not always going to be evenly spread out. In fact, 81% of people who get dermal fillers find nodules and complain of nodules. 41% of those nodules are mild, 48 are moderate, and 9.8 can be really severe. We also see bruising in 77% of people who get dermal fillers, with 51% being moderate bruising. We also see firmness in 82%, with 54% being moderate, 7.8% being severe. Also, we see redness, discoloration, and itchiness. So just bring to your awareness that it's very common to get some of these side effects. Some of them are transient, they last as you'd expect around the area of injection. But if you start having any symptoms or any issues further from the injection, pain especially, numbness especially, discoloration, very important, that's an emergent situation, right? So this is why it's important to be getting, if you choose to get this, with a professional. You can't just be going to the med spa that just opened up the road that looks shady as hell. And I'm always going to bring this to the consciousness of people listening. If you're choosing to do this from a place of external validation, then maybe it calls for you coming back to yourself and going, okay, hold on, let me be here with myself and see, is this true for me? Am I choosing to do this for someone else, for someone else's approval, right? For someone else's acceptance? Or am I doing this from a place of, I'm at peace, I feel good about myself, I've come into contact with my deepest emotions, I feel totally liberated as a human being, and now I'm still choosing to do this from this place, right? Because if it's the latter, and you're having the external drive, external force for you to make a decision to really change your face, if not for the permanent, then just for the temporary in the form of these fillers, then think about why you're doing it, where you're coming from. What you do is what you do. I have no judgment for it, but I always will recommend to come to a place of your true self, see how you truly feel, come from the internal, come from the fulfillment of the internal, and then make a decision. You may find that you don't even want it. And two side notes, if you're working on collagen, like I said for the Botox show, you can use red light therapy. Red light therapy is nature's way of building up collagen. It is the most powerful thing that I've seen for wrinkles, not called fillers or Botox, the most powerful thing I've seen as far as a mechanism that you can use every single day with its own inherent therapeutic value at healing our mitochondria, but also building up collagen. So you can use red light therapy. You can make sure you're getting a good quality red light. You're looking at how powerful it is first and foremost, and the quality overall. I talk about my favorite ones, go to my page. But yeah, getting a good quality red light is going to be very important if you want to work on your plumpness of your lips or wrinkles in your face, and also utilizing things like vitamin C and having amino acid rich diet or amino acid supplement that is going to help build up collagen, as collagen is made of vitamin C and different amino acids. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Very easy stuff. Try it out, come from the place internally, make your decision, and then go with what your heart desires. All the love in the world. Thank you for listening to The Knowledge Bomb. Thank you for listening to the show. I really hope you enjoy that segment with Dr. Vivian. She always has knowledge bombs. She's a toxin expert. Really mind-blowing stuff with the obesogens too to know. As always, thank you for listening to the show. Rate, reviewing, subscribing. Look, happy holidays to all of you. Thank you for joining for another year, another day, another week. All the love to you. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your family.